soothing for sleep. Like, it's not a story, right? So you can get invested into it less. You don't get as invested into it, if that makes sense. So I thought that I would just do a bit of reading from Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. I was going to read Señor de los Anillos, which is Lord of the Rings in Spanish, but I wasn't too sure about that for my first reading ASMR video, so do let me know if you would like me to read that or something in Spanish, because I know Spanish but not a lot. Like, I'm not fluent, but I am kind of conversational, so I can read in Spanish. I just might not know what all the words mean, so I might pronounce things a little wrong. But if you would like to see a video in Spanish or me reading in Spanish, I'd be more than happy to do that. But for this first one, I thought I'd just start off with Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, because it's a very soothing book. So there is an intro talking all about Marcus Aurelius, but I don't think I'm going to read that. I think I'm going to get straight into the book properly, because that's probably what you actually would want to hear. So I think I'm just going to choose some random pages to actually read out, because I'm not going to go in order. I don't personally, when I pick up this book, I don't read it in order. I flick to a random page and read what maybe feels right for me in that moment. So I'm going to kind of follow that along a bit today. So I'm going to start with book 2, On the River Gran Among the Quaedi. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature released to my own, not of the same blood or birth, but the same mind, and processing a share of the divine. And so none of them can hurt me, no one can implicate me in ugliness, nor can I feel angry at my relative or hate him. We were born to work together like feet, hands and eyes, like the 2 rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are obstructions. Whatever this is that I am, it is flesh and little spirit, and an intelligence. Throw away your books, stop letting yourself be distracted. That is not allowed. Instead, as if you were dying right now, despite your flesh, a mess of blood, pieces of bone, a woven tangle of nerves, veins, arteries. Consider what the spirit is, air, and never the same air, but vomited out and gulped in again every instant. Finally, the intelligence. Think of it this way. You are an old man. Stop allowing your mind to be a slave, to be jerked about by selfish impulses, to kick against fate and the present, and to mistrust the future. What is divine is full of providence. 3. What is divine is full of providence. Even chance is not divorced from nature, from the inweaving and enfolding of things are covered by the providence. Everything proceeds from it, and there is necessity and the needs of the whole world of which you are a part. Whatever the nature of the whole does, and whatever serves to maintain it, is good for every part of nature. The world is maintained by change in the elements and in the things they compose. This should be enough for you. Treat it as an axiom. Discard your thirst for books so that you won't die in bitterness, but in cheerfulness and truth, grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Remember how long you've been putting this off, how many extensions the gods gave you, and you didn't use them. At some point you have to recognize what it is and what you belong to, what power rules it, and from what source you spring. And there is a limit to the time assigned to you, and if you don't use it to free yourself precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice, and on freeing yourself from all other distractions. Yes, you can, if you do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life, and stop being aimless, stop letting your emotions override what your mind tells you, stop being hypocritical, self-centered, irritable. You see how few things in life you have to do to live a satisfying and reverent life. If you can manage this, that's all even the gods can ask of you. 6. Yes, keep on degrading yourself, soul, but soon your chance at dignity will be gone. Everyone gets one life, yours is almost used up, and instead of treating yourself with respect, you have entrusted your own happiness to the souls of others. 7. Do external things distract you? Then make time for yourself to learn something worthwhile. Stop letting yourself be pulled in all directions, but make sure you guard against the other kind of confusion. People who labour all their lives but have no purpose to direct every thought and impulse toward are wasting their time, even when hard at work. 8. Ignoring what goes on in other people's souls. No one ever came to grief that way. But if you won't keep track of what your own soul is doing, how can you not be unhappy? 9. Don't ever forget these things. The nature of the world, my nature, how I relate to the world, what proportion of it I make up, that you are part of nature, and no one can prevent you from speaking and acting in harmony with it always. 10. In comparing sins, the way people do, Theodoratus says that the ones committed out of desire are worse than the ones committed out of anger, which is good philosophy. The angry man seems to turn his back on reason out of a kind of pain and in a convulsion, but the man motivated by desire, who is mastered by pleasure, seems somehow more self-indulgent, less manly in his sins. Theodoratus is right, and philosophically sound, to say that the sin committed out of pleasure deserves a harsher rebuke than the one committed out of pain. The angry man is more like a victim of wrongdoing, provoked by pain to anger. The other man rushes into wrongdoing on his own, moved to action by desire. 11. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. If the gods exist, then to abandon human beings is not frightening. The gods would never subject you to harm, and if they don't exist, or don't care what happens to us, what would be the point of living in a world without gods or providence? But they do exist, and they do care what happens to us, and everything a person needs to avoid real harm, they have placed within him. If there were anything harmful on the other side of death, they would have made sure that the ability to avoid it was within you. If it doesn't harm your character, how can it harm your life? Nature would not have overlooked such dangers through failing to recognize them, or because it saw them, but was powerless to prevent or correct them. Nor would it ever, through inability or incompetence, make such a mistake as to let the good and bad things happen indiscriminately to good and bad alike. But death and life, success and failure, pain and pleasure, wealth and poverty, all these happen to good and bad alike. excited by posthumous fame, forget that people who remember them will soon die too, and those after them in turn, until their memory, passed from one to another like a candle flame, gutters and goes out. But suppose that those who remembered you were immortal and your memory undying, what good will it do you? And I don't just mean when you're dead, but in your own lifetime. What use is praise except to make your life a little more comfortable? You're out of step neglecting the gifts of nature to hand on someone's words in the future. 20. Beautiful things of any kind are beautiful in themselves and sufficient to themselves. Praise is extraneous. The object of praise remains what it was, no better and no worse. This applies, I think, even to beautiful things in ordinary life, physical objects, artworks. Does anything genuinely beautiful need supplementing? No more than justice does, or truth, or kindness, or humility. Are any of those improved by being praised, or damaged by contempt? Is an emerald suddenly flawed if no one admires it, or gold, or ivory, or people, lyres, knives, flowers, bushes? I like that one. 21. If our souls survive, how does the air find room for them? All of them, since the beginning of time. How does the earth find room for all the bodies buried in it since the beginning of time? They linger for whatever length of time, and then through change and decomposition make room for others. So too with the souls that inhabit the air. They linger a little, and then are changed, diffused and kindled into fire, absorbed into the logos from which all things spring, so to make room for new arrivals. One possible answer, but we shouldn't think only of the mass of buried bodies. There are ones consumed on a daily basis by us and other animals. How many are swallowed up like that, entombed in the bodies of those nourished by them, and yet there is room for all of them, converted into flesh and blood, transformed to air and fire. How is the truth of this determined? Through analysis, material and cause. 22. Not to be driven this way and that, but always to behave with justice and see things as they are. 23. To the world, your harmony is mine. Whatever time you choose is the right time, not late, not early. To nature, what the turn of your seasons brings me falls like ripe fruit. All things are born from you, exist in you, return to you. The poet says, dear city of Cercops, can't you bring yourself to say of Zeus? 24. If you speak tranquility, do less, or more accurately, do what's essential, what the logos of a social being requires, and in the requisite way, which brings a double satisfaction, to do less better, because most of what we say and do is not essential. If you can eliminate it, you'll have more time and more tranquility. Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? But we need to eliminate unnecessary assumptions as well, to eliminate the unnecessary actions that follow. I really like that. truth I'm after, and the truth never harmed anyone. What harms us is to persist in self-deceit and ignorance. I like that. 22. I do what is mine to do, the rest doesn't disturb me. The rest is inanimate, or has no logos, or it wanders at random and has lost the road. 23. When you deal with irrational animals, with things and circumstances, be generous and straightforward. You are rational, they are not. When you deal with fellow human beings, behave as one. They share in the logos, and invoke the gods regardless. Don't worry about how long you'll be doing this. A single afternoon would be enough. I'm going to skip to 25. Think how much is going on inside you, every second, in your soul, in your body. Why should it astonish you that so much more, everything that happens in that all-embracing unity, the world, is happening at the same time? And I think I'll leave it there, but not before I put my bookmark back in. So, that was me reading some of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.